Okay, welcome to the Parks and Rec Commission meeting. We will get it going at 5:01 p.m. I am here, Cheryl Kessel, and you can just go down the line and say your name and present.
Robin Osmondstad, present. Gary Muccio, present.
Ben Kramer present.
Becky Keck, present.
And Alan Backus is not. Okay, first item is general public comment. This is the time members of the public may give comment of a general nature. No official action may be taken by the commission during this time unless it is to direct staff to look into a matter. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes. If you are watching online and would like to make a public comment, please send a chat message to the host in Zoom. Would anyone like to make a general public comment on an item that is not on the agenda? And seeing no one on. Okay, seeing no one on coming to the microphone around Zoom, we will move on to our next item, which is an introduction.
Yes, so I would like to introduce Bailey Cosman. I'm gonna get it right. Cosman. And Bailey is our new Parks and Rec coordinator. New position to our department, first time ever. We've had 3 staff members for Parks and Rec. So we are really super happy to have Bailey. She's she lives in Clarkdale. She grew up in Clarkdale, and she actually was married in the clubhouse. And so we're super excited to have her on board. She's going to be handling facility rentals and the volunteer program, working with Commissioner Kessel and our Vice Chair Kessel. And then also, what was the other thing? Something.
Event that all the
Events,
things that
yeah,
we-
right.
There's
Mike is
cycle
and- so yeah, we're super excited. Welcome, Bailey. And then also I want to give a call out to our Commissioner Muccio. This is her last meeting with us. We're super sad to be losing you. And we have a little plant and some cards for you. As an appreciation for your time. We've enjoyed having you so much. I don't know why I'm emotional right now.
I'm not going anywhere. You just don't have to come to meetings anymore.
The only thing that makes it okay. But on another note, Robin has been selected to join as an actual commission member. She has been promoted to commission, and that will be effective next meeting. However, with Alan being out this meeting, Robin will sit in as a voting member. So we're excited about that. We're also going back out for a call for our alternate, someone to fill Robin's position. So Jerry, thank you for all your service.
Thanks.
We appreciate you.
Okay, we'll move on to reports.
So you have with you a sheet that says Parks and Rec Department reports. This was planned to be in your packet, and it was not. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go over briefly what is listed in this report, and then you can look at it in detail. And if there's any questions that you have later, you can always reach out, or tonight if you have any questions. Just an update on Track K Park. I'm going to give you all the parks that we have anything going on. First, Track K is we finally have an additional, did you not get one? An additional, they had to do a second amendment to their development agreement. They have not been getting a park built that they had agreed to build by a certain time. And so it ended up going to council, and they have developed a new agreement that they now have until February or March to get the park completed. Did I put in there? Yeah, they're telling me that it will be complete by January, because we've had public calling and asking about it. And so I reached out to the developer, but they're not, what will happen if they do not have the park complete by their end date is, the town will, then take over and the town will build the park with their funds. So, so they're well aware of the situation and they have begun working on the park. So on the Mangini Park, just there's a kind of a lineup on the timeline or as things have taken place and as are going to take place. We're our deadline for awarding a contract to a contractor is December. However, we have had information from Arizona State Parks that we can just report that we're not quite there yet. If we get there, we're working very hard to get there. We've been working with our town engineer, Ardura, to come to an agreement on the services that they can provide for us, including the engineering, design, and construction oversight. So once we have that agreement complete, then we can they'll start doing the work to go out for a contractor and start moving this down the road. Any questions on that one? Caballero Park, I am delighted to tell you that we will be doing a groundbreaking ceremony on the 28th of this month at 9:30 in the morning. It will also be the pre-construction meeting with the contractor, and they will do the really true construction will begin on the following Monday. So the 28th is on Thursday. You are all invited. I will send you a formal invitation. And we are planning on getting a flyer out to the residents, a mailing out to the residents to let them know all of this information, as well as, kind of giving them an idea on the park design and the fact that Public Works is going to go in and pull out the necessary trees prior to that construction, prior to that ribbon cutting date. So
Day, did you say? I'm sorry. What's the ribbon day?
the 28th at 9:30.
A Thursday? Okay.
Thursday, the 28th. So that is really good news. Copper Penny Park, I think I probably had reported several times now that we purchased the fencing and posts for the pickleball requested fence. And it's been sitting and we're waiting for the developer contractor who promised that they would do that for us. He has now been in contact, thanks to a prompted call, has been in contact with our Public Works Department, and I think we're going to meet at the park next week to lay out exactly where it's going to go, and he's going to start that construction on the fence. So we have some great things moving along. As far as programs, we have Marcia Fouts through our I Love My Parks and Trails program has been out several different times taking care of things on the trails, graffiti, all kinds of, apparently we have an abundance of not goat heads. It's usually goat heads. This year it's tumbleweeds. And so she has taken a team and over to the wastewater treatment plant and started removing some of those that kind of get close to the trail. So they're cleaning those up and getting rid of those. Jim Mast did this was back in May, but we haven't got a chance to update you on all the fun things. Did a birds and butterflies. He had 25 in attendance. It's a huge successful program. He loves doing it and we love having him do it. And just as a reminder, he is no longer a volunteer in that aspect. We pay him for that time for programming because he is a town employee. And he actually has received a promotion to lead ambassador. So now he's helping schedule ambassadors and taking on some extra duties. But nonetheless, he's an employee and employees can't volunteer. So we are paying him for that. The town park restrooms update. We met with Public Works and took a look at the bathrooms to see what the possibilities were after a pretty lengthy discussion. They agreed to get a quote to provide the installation of new doors and door jambs, to remove the stalls, to install an infant changing station at ADA height, and change the lockout either to a deadbolt with an external key or a key code alarm lock for the bathroom. So I think we're gonna go with the code alarm, the code locks as a trial at this park to see how well they work. And then we can, and what that means is that they will automatically open in the morning and they will automatically lock at night. They won't lock anyone in. If someone is in, they'll still be able to get out, but the door will lock behind them. And then also the installation of the signage, and we'll have another conversation about that and what that's going to look like for either family or multi-use bathrooms, family style bathrooms. And then we also asked them, we had a lengthy conversation about ADA for the bathrooms. It's not going to be easy with the current layout, but we asked them to get a quote for that regardless. And so we can see how much it would cost if it is doable. And then we also had a conversation about potentially adding another restroom onto the building and making it a true ADA accessible restroom. So that would be a future project. Right now we have 25,000 in the CIP, in the capital improvement project line item for park safety. And so we can use those funds to improve those bathrooms.
What are the hours that it's locked?
Well, whenever Public Works gets there in the morning on weekdays and whenever PD locks it in the evening. So the park hours are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that's our ideal, to have the bathrooms open and close at that time. It just depends. And the weekends, it's all on PD. So, you know, if the officers are busy, I mean, they get there when they can. So the auto locks would be really helpful in that way, that, you know, they don't have to try to get to every park every morning. And especially as we're adding parks, it's going to be a lot for them. They did add an additional staff member to kind of help with parks, but it's still, they have a lot of other things to do in the parks. So any questions on the restroom conversation? We will let you know what the quote comes back at, and you know what we're actually going to be able to do and to improve the bathrooms. The Verde River at Clarkdale, finally, after actually more than a year, we have a signed agreement with Arizona State Parks with the Tusagoot wrap use. It is now a memorandum of agreement, not an IGA, which is intergovernmental agreement at their request. And there have been quite a few changes, mostly pertaining to finance. We will know they do not want us to collect fees on their behalf any longer. So they we will not be charging our outfitters. We currently charge them 50 cents per customer for Arizona State Parks fees. And then we've been keeping half of that, and we send half of it to them, to Arizona State Parks for improvements. And then we keep the other half to help cover our expenses of the trash and the porta-johns and everything, our ambassadors, everything that we do out there. the outfitters will now have to get a state parks commercial permit. And so they will now be getting that in addition to the permit that they have with us. The big thing that will also change is that they're going to be charging. They're setting a pay station. That's gonna be that's gonna be some work, because we want to make sure that the messaging is right, is helpful to our ambassadors that they are not required to police it, to make sure that people are paying the fee, but they're gonna get the flack from the public that has never had to pay a fee to visit Tuesday Goot Wrap. So we're gonna be working on that messaging to put up once the fee actually kicks in. And but state parks will now, we're gonna do quarterly reporting to them. And as to our expenses to run the Tuesday Goot Wrap, and they will reimburse us for half of those expenses. So our ambassadors, the trash, the porta johns, the equipment and staff time to go down and grade and keep the road in, acceptable condition. We'll be keeping track of all of that, and then we submit a report to them quarterly, and we'll be receiving half of that in reimbursement from them. So that we anticipate that that's going to be a good thing, even though we're going to we opted not to charge the outfitters to continue to charge that fee. We took that off, so they just pay a flat $8 now per customer versus $8.50 to cover the state parks. And so we're confident that we're going to gain more than that amount. So we didn't want to continue to charge them for that. And especially because now they have to pay a $300 fee to state parks to get a commercial permit in addition to their permit with us. I know that's a lot of information.
If the ambassadors aren't responsible for patrolling, how are they? I mean, if they see somebody come in and not paying, or they don't say anything?
They don't have to, and we're gonna work out those details. We haven't literally, the agreement came to me today, the signed agreement. So we've got a lot of things to work out with them as far as how all of this is going to work, including the messaging that we want to put out as far as them charging and et cetera. So, yeah.
Just to clarify, so prior to this agreement, the town was responsible for all of the expenses, but those were paid from that 50 cent per.
They were not that 50 cent,
Yeah.
that 25 cents. So
Yeah.
we sent
Oh, right.
25 cents for each customer. We sent 25 to Arizona State Parks, and we kept 25 cents. It did not come close to covering our expenses.
But the town was responsible for 100%, now responsible for 50. Okay.
For that site. So it's going to be a little tricky because our ambassadors cover both sites.
Mhm.
And so we've got to split up that, that accounting and make sure that we get that covered. But just getting that amount, I mean, staffing is the most expensive thing out there. So it should be good, but the outfitters, and we'll cover that when we get to the Verde River at Clarkdale page or agenda item. But things have been going well, so we'll get a full accounting of the season, and then we're gonna know exactly where we stand. So any other questions on that? I know it's kind of complicated. Our attorneys literally have been duking this out with us. It was not a great situation in the beginning. We would have to really stand our ground on a couple of things that they were trying to be firm on, and we won on a couple of things, so that was good. Our events, obviously we did our 4th of July event. Many of you participated in that and did well. It looks like our parade numbers are kind of starting to come back up. And pancake breakfasts were way down this year. The Port Police Department had purchased ton of. They were thinking they were gonna serve like 800 maybe, and so, and they did it very fancy with buttermilk and eggs and instead of the easy pancake mix and water.
Yeah.
And so it was unfortunate because they ended up having to get rid of a lot of stuff.
Well, and just one thing I noticed, we didn't go because the line was bananas. So I don't know if they were down on staff compared to original years, but yeah, the line was right around the corner, so none of people we were with even attempted.
Well, probably because it takes so much longer than, did they have it all mixed up before?
Well, they were mixing it as they went.
Yeah,
Instead of
maybe
just having
that-
Water to mix, instead of having. eggs,
Just something
milk.
maybe to follow up with them on, because, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I know we anticipated it. And once we saw the line, we scrapped that idea.
So maybe 2 lines or,
Maybe,
remember, well.
yeah, but no, I'm just saying, I would follow up with them and ask if their staffing was different from the year before to see if that was part of the.
Oh, I know we provided quite a few volunteers, so they did have volunteers helping, and I honestly, because this was quite some time ago, Chief did send an email about the count and oh, I know what it is. A lot of times, when 4th of July falls during the week, there is, or especially because people could have a long weekend, our attendance is down. So we were down overall in attendance. And so that was an effect that they hadn't really anticipated. There's an update here for you on our volunteer appreciation as asked. That was back in April. We had 60 attendees. This is something that is so valued by our volunteers that, you know, we just make it better every year. And it's been a really rewarding event for them and for us to see them be so grateful for the work that they do for us. And, you know, that means a lot to us because you know, you guys know the spiel, I give it all the time. We can't do what we do without the help of volunteers, so. Concerts in the park. We only had, it says 8 concerts. We only booked 7 concerts this year. We had one that was canceled due to weather, and our attendance has fluctuated from 400 to 1,000. And that's kind of the norm. Our last concert, we had over 1,200 attendees, for those of you who were there and had the chance to experience that from a working perspective. I know it was a lot. And there was $2,600 raised, a record in raffle. So, and the winner of the raffle donated back their winnings. So we actually netted, after paying our ambassador, netted about, I'm doing the math in my head. It was just under $2,600. Okay, and then our next concert, we anticipate to be huge as well. It was our biggest one last year, and with the way the numbers have been going, we do have both Shell and I are going to be out of town. Unavoidable timing. But we do have, Bailey is going to attend her first concert and get her feet wet in that arena. We have Jim Mast there as always, and we actually have hired in another ambassador to Jeremy. Some of you may have met him. He trained with Jim earlier in the year. And so we'll have two ambassadors, a staff member, and then 5 volunteers.
Ambassadors, Jim and Becky, and then 4 ticket sellers out in the crowd. But 4 at the table, and if you feel like you need more, then you just send somebody else out.
Yeah, so it's gonna be well covered for us, which makes us feel great. And I just want to thank you for you guys stepping up and taking on the role of helping with this. It's taken a lot of load off of staff. And, you know, I feel that it's been great for the community to see you out there and doing the work that you're doing, and just really appreciate it. Thank you. That's it for reports, unless anybody has a question.
All right, the next item is minutes, and we're looking at the minutes from our regular meeting on May 10th of this year and the special meeting on August 16th. Does anybody have any discussion, additions, corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written for the Wednesday, May 10th meeting.
You want to include both in there or no?
And the August 16th special meeting.
I can second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Okay, on to new business and Halloween event planning. Discuss, consider, and act upon the 2023 Halloween event plan.
Hello, commissioners. It's very nice to see you. Since this is recorded, I'm going to introduce myself, even though we all know each other, but I'm Shel Smart. I'm the Parks and Rec Specialist and the town's PIO for Town of Clarkdale. And since I built staff report, I get to talk to you about our exciting Halloween event and hopefully do a recap with you of what you liked last year and what you'd like to improve on. So hopefully you all had a chance to look at the staff report. I went into kind of the background a little bit of what the event is. I think all of you have attended it and seen it, so you're pretty familiar. There's a map on page 3 that shows the safe trick or treat zone and the streets that we close off so the kids have access to trick or treat without the traffic. And we noted, you know, the time on there. This year, we are expecting to have a lot of kiddos. We actually just ran a report. We know we have at least 1,300 trick-or-treaters because we have a wonderful volunteer, Cheryl Kessel, who counts them every year. But when we ran a report this last week to look at how many cell phones and people overall are coming to this event, it was estimated to be closer to 4,000, a little above 4,000. So it's a really big event. People are not all staying for the whole time period. Not everybody is trick-or-treating. Some people are coming just for the costume contest or maybe coming through to see the houses and then leaving. We have, what I did was I went ahead and I proposed what we'd like to see included this year. And then I noted what we were thinking we would exclude. So on page 2, it says the following event plan is recommended for inclusion in the 2023 Safe Trick or Treat Halloween event, and it's in bold. It says we'll include the safe trick-or-treating with no changes to the event route. We are planning on meeting with some of our public safety partners to go over that route and hear from them. So it's possible it could change, but at this time, we're not anticipating a change. Candy purchase will be at least 1,000 of our town dollars that we have budgeted and 1,500 from Jennifer Griffin, which we're recommending to use this year on candy instead of decoration. The last couple of years, we've used them to decorate the gazebo, but obviously the gazebo is out of commission right now. So we'd like to put that towards candy because the last few years, we just haven't really had enough. All of the houses are telling us they could use more. Candy bagging, we're hoping Cheryl and Jerry will get that ready for us this year. Candy delivery, it sounds like Cheryl, Jerry, and Cheryl's husband will be helping us out with that. The costume contest, we're not recommending any changes unless you all have some ideas that you'd like to see implemented. And we're thinking we will use the town sound system this year, most likely for announcements instead of asking for volunteers to help with that. Maybe from throwing in. We are going to look at the exact layout because the concrete pad may or may not be available. So depending on the construction schedule for the gazebo, we may need to find an alternative layout. So if you would all like to talk about that or you have any ideas, that's fine. Otherwise, we'll probably find another corner of the park that will work, and we'll definitely have a backup plan for that. So then just below it, it says due to staffing limitations, weather and logistical concerns, these elements are not recommended to continue this year. So purchasing decorations, like, we're gonna take a year off from decorating the gazebo. We are going to forego, or we'd like to propose foregoing the house decorating contest. That contest, it doesn't appear that having the contest leads to more people decorating their house. The same people are doing it each time. And logistically, it's just a big challenge with timing because we need to wait until late in the day when people are done with their decorations. And then we have to hustle around to look at all the houses, make sure we see everybody, even the side streets who ask us to sometimes judge them as well. And then it seems to be the same people winning over and over. So it's a lot of work. We think we'll still have the same turnout, just like we used to have turnout before we implemented this contest a few years ago. So we're hoping that it's all right to leave that off this year off of our plate. And then the Halloween movie. So in 2019, it sounds like there was equipment that was purchased. It's very cumbersome, it's difficult to set up, and we've been plagued by bad weather issues and low attendance. So I noted it's between 40 attendees and 300. And so we are not proposing to have that this year. It takes a lot of staff, it takes a lot of work and coordination. And we're just not sure that this is the year to do that with us getting people trained and everything else we're working on. And then the audio tech volunteer support, we're just noting that we think we can take care of that this year and that we'll just use our speaker system. Our volunteer sound engineer, Toby Payne, is likely going to be busy that day. I spoke with him today. And so we just wanted to let you know we won't need the volunteer help with that. So that affects our volunteer numbers below, and you'll see we would be moving from 40 volunteers in 2022 to about, typo there, 24 volunteers in 2023. So it's a big reduction in the number of volunteers that we'll need. Most of those volunteers are used at our roadblocks to help safely set that up and keep the kiddos moving along in the right directions. But if you have any questions about what our volunteers are doing, we kind of listed out what their roles are there. And then you have our budget impact. So first, I wonder if anybody has any questions, and then maybe we can talk about what feedback you have or what you like or what you would like to see change.
So did you guys used to do the movie on Halloween night?
It's actually the week before.
Copy.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually the week before.
Okay, and then remind me, after everyone trick or treats and kind of does what, I don't know if I remember, what kind of goes on in the park?
Yeah, so the full event is from 5 to 7. We have the costume contest that starts at 6. Is that right, Joni?
5:30.
5:30. So we have the kiddos come there and we divide them by age group, and then we evaluate, or we have judges, volunteer judges who come out and pick the winners for that.
Okay. I just think maybe it'd be fun, and I don't know if you do this or not, but since you're gonna have the sound system out there, once the judging's done, have some really fun music, like kind of Halloween music for all the kids to, something like that. I don't know if you do that in the past
We
or,
have,
okay,
we would
okay.
plan to do that.
perfect, cool.
Any other questions?
For the costume contest, is there any sort of like presentation of here are the winners, or like a stage that the kids get up on, or what does that look like?
So usually we use the concrete pad,
Mhm.
and actually we have a wonderful volunteer who marches them all around. And so the kids all march around who are in that particular age group, and the judges get to see them, everybody in the audience gets to see them. And then the winners are called up and they receive their prize. So that's generally how it works. It doesn't take very long to move through the different groups. We have some good volunteers to select the winners.
And food trucks like always and stuff, or no food trucks for Halloween?
So no, we have not incorporated food trucks in the past. We have looked to our businesses to support that. We have
Well, we
not,
don't got any food now.
right, we also are concerned about closing them in over that time period or them trying to get out because the streets are closed off.
Mm,
It could be possible for them to find maybe another location at the outer perimeter, but it's not something that we've typically included. It's something that we could absolutely look
Well, it's
at.
just around dinner time, you know, and if they were on the outside, kind of going out of town.
Outside of the-
Yeah, you know, I don't know, I just think it's nice to have that, being that there's no food in
Yeah.
town right now, might be good.
Yeah, so the Mexican food restaurant, I'm not sure if they'll be open or not yet, and the brewery usually has a pretty busy night, but I think more food probably would be a welcome addition. When we looked today at that report about where people are coming from
Yeah,
and where they're going to, food destinations were high on that list, so yeah, I think that's a good
I just,
idea. Okay, so won't be open.
But, and I, as well, downtown business alliance wants to do the trunk or treat that they did on 10th Street last year. And it was a small group there, they don't really care, they have a lot of people over there, it went really well, they liked doing it. One of the things that we had offered to do was we, let them piggyback on our discount, so we actually had to buy their candy and then figure out the separation of that. And we're not going to do that this year, they will, purchase their own candy. I did tell them if they wanted to follow along after we purchased our candy, that we could help them with the discount, but I told them it's only 10%. I mean, that 33% is a sale that they already have going on. So that we get like the senior discount, 10% on top of that, so it's not really a lot. And they understood that, you know, and they may not even pretend to buy candy, they may just have the people that are doing the trunk or treating get their own, so. But they did ask to continue that.
Yeah, so Fry's every year, they let us know when they're gonna have the largest sale before Halloween, and we come at that time, and then they give us an additional 10%. So that's usually between 40 and 45% that we get off, and we have requested from them that they'll honor that again this year, and we're hoping to hear back this week about that. It is a much better deal. When we went online to look at.
we tried
candy,
everything,
purchasing.
yeah.
It does end up being a much better deal than ordering online in bulk.
Dollar General again will collect,
Have you touched base with them?
well, that was part of the email I sent to you. You agreed to everything.
Oh, did I?
We haven't touched base with them yet. Usually we do that in the next 2 weeks. So we're
Yeah, they're
actually
great.
ahead on
They
our
give us some
planning.
random stuff, but they're great.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
mean, she's willing to.
Yeah, it's awesome.
As long as somebody, you know, if you can pick it up at a regular basis.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
can, because I'm passing there every day anyway, so. Okay, send me the email
Yeah,
again.
Cheryl's been helping us get everything organized. So we're running ahead right now, and I think.
Yeah, the only thing I would suggest is food trucks. If we can find a safe place for them, I think as a person with kids, the last thing I want to do, it's just the timing. It's not like can't eat before because you're getting ready. By the time you get home, it's late. So if there was just a couple food trucks, that would make things better for people, I think.
Okay, sounds like a good idea. All right, we'll look into that. Will be swamped.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, all right. I think, are we?
Anybody,
anything
any-
else?
Is there? So the construction piece is like up in the air, who knows, really out of our control.
Correct.
So is it possible that the entire middle is gonna be roped off?
Yeah, it would just
Okay.
be, yeah, it
So-
would be around the concrete pad and behind the gazebo, at least
Okay,
20 feet behind the gazebo.
so just in thinking about alternate areas to maybe do
Mhm.
something like where that central, like right in the middle on the north side, where those posts are, like centering something around there, or maybe even using the street more, because that's all blocked off anyway, right?
Correct.
Or maybe the Downtown Alliance would love it if the costume contest was over on that block. If we like shuffled some attention over in that area. If not, if there's not necessarily like something anchoring the event to the park for this year, maybe.
Right.
Exploring that.
And we have a layout that's very similar to what you just described that we
Okay.
considered for 4th of July.
Mhm.
So we will probably revise those plans. We would need a stage. There are some additional things that we would need.
Mhm.
If the concrete pad is available, the families are so familiar with coming to that location. We
Mhm.
think just for continuity's sake, we might end up using that space, but I think that's a great idea. And we could definitely look at that for this year and future years.
Yeah.
Because the street is closed off. But like Joni mentioned, a lot of the businesses, most of the businesses are closed that night.
Okay.
So what is going on with the timeline for the gazebo? What, are they waiting or what's, why is it? No comment?
We
Okay.
didn't have that on there.
Yeah.
So I'll give you all the update on that. But I can't answer that question that we do not know about the construction time for Halloween and that we probably can particularly that.
All right.
Anyone else have anything? I will, if somebody would like to. Are you finished?
I am. Thank you.
Anybody want to make a motion and put all that in there?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Halloween event plan with the additional notes to continue developing an alternate site for the costume contest and reach out to food truck vendors to see if they would want to participate in the ceremony. Or anything else that needs to be up for motion? Not at this time. Okay.
I can second again.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. All right, okay, moving on to discussion items only. No action will be taken. The first one is the Trails Master Plan.
Alrighty, so this is coming along quite nicely. I want to report that we have started the conversations with the large landowners on the feasibility of some of the trails. But before I tell you about that, let me let you know that Taylor we have changed the timeline for the
So. We will now not be going out to public until December. And, giving us time to get through, all of the details that need to be worked out on feasibility. So it will come to
public in December for additional input, and then we'll go to council. And then we'll review a final plan in early 2024. So they've changed, some of the things that we've been working on is the visual aspect. So as part of the plan, we can choose 3 of our opportunities to be highlighted. And that was a little difficult in looking at it. Staff spent a great deal of time talking this through with Logan Simpson, and we determined that we wanted 3 kind of different things to look at for that visual. We have selected the Benots Trail trailhead as a trailhead option for visual. But we're talking about including more of the trail, so it's not going to be just the trailhead. It'll be a visual that they can see more of the. I'm right on that, aren't I? Yeah, the connections. Right, showing the connecting trails to that being Big Springs and Benots. And then
So that's gonna be the Boston finance. That's gonna be not over the platform.
Yes. And then, the Clarkdale Jerome School Trails was the second one, and showing what we really tried to get a huge piece in there, and that primarily was the Clarkdale Parkway, multi-use path, the cement plant road that would connect to Clarkdale Parkway and the school down to where the sidewalk starts. So we literally have a complete system, walking path or walking opportunity and bike lanes for that area. I met this morning with Matt Schumacher from Clarkdale Jerome School. They are 100% on board with trails. We looked at their property behind the school where the social trails are and where they connect out to Cement Plant Road. So we've got them on board with that. We had Doug Von Gossig took his drone out and did some aerials for us on that for Logan Simpson to begin developing some of those visuals. In addition, the roundabout at Clarkdale Parkway and Cement Plant Road, we're planning for some additional pedestrian lighting and notification, so people know to slow down, that will be a crossing place. And yes, and Cement Plant Road and the Clarkdale School Trails. And the connectivity, you know, we're excited about that connectivity from the potential new development and Mountain Gate to come across and connect kids to the school. Matt Schumacher was really excited about that. That, you know, they want to actually extend the sidewalk down 16th Street anyway. And so we'll be working on that together. Landowners, we've met with Freeport McMoran last week, their team, to talk about the feasibility of the trails. It was a great conversation. There wasn't any hard no's. There wasn't any yeses. But they're, you know, willing to continue to look at the plan. We are now at a point, we went back to Logan Simpson and we asked them to include parcel numbers in the map. So we now have a map that you can click on and it will show you who owns the property. And we really needed that going into this conversation. We just didn't quite realize it at the time until the questions started coming up. So and then we also met with Ray Stelna and Mike Mangini, large landowners on some of the properties that we're looking at, and they are very receptive to working with us on trails. They're super excited about it. They were probably the most excited, and I have to tell you, both Freeport and Selna and Mangini went on about the plan and how awesome, you know, how organized they think it is, and you know, a lot of thought has gone into it, and they're really excited in being a part of it. So we still have Verde Exploration to have a deeper conversation with. We're getting a little bit of information that they may not be as excited to be a part of this. So we just got to do a better job of selling them. So that will be our next step with them. And then also Phoenix Cement company who owns some of the property. If we're doing the Cement Plant Road, they own that road. So we're going to have a lot of work to do with them and get that squared away. So that's kind of where we're at on all of that. You have in front of you the matrix that Taylor has put together, kind of a whole look at the trails and proposed trails, what details are around them,
where they start, where they end. Proposed user groups, keep in mind this is all proposed, so, you know, we can have more conversations about it. She was particularly wondering if there was anything across the top, as far as categories that we want to count. So we have, user groups, if there are any bridges involved, major or minor, major crossings, minor crossings, the approximate miles, which I really like to see the total on that. The approximate linear feet. The cost, so she's been putting together all of the costs for each of these trails, the possible cost to bring those to fruition. The easements that are going to be required for some of the properties is greater than others, as you can see. The next step or actions needed, what still needs to be done, and who the key partners are for the specific properties. So I thought this was a really great visual for us to be able to look at everything and discuss if there's something else that we need to include in that movement. I'm sorry, I wish the editing went with the second page as well. I apologize if it didn't. So the long and short of it is, we have about, in near term, we have about 22 miles of trails in this proposal, and about $7 million to get there. And exciting. Any questions about this?
So the Verde exploration is only one, right?
Yes, it is one company.
But it's only one project that it's impacted by them, right?
No, there's the Jerome, the Trail to Jerome. And
I only see them on Key Partners Online. That's why I was
give
asking.
me a second. I have it right here. The former Arizona Central Railroad down on off of Broadway, off
Yeah.
of Bent River.
Yeah, that's the only one I see on here. That's why I was asking.
Well, I think that's because Taylor didn't put the Jerome Trail on here
Oh, okay.
because of the fact that it is out of our jurisdiction. Yeah. That's, I'm gonna have to have a conversation about that. Because that is one that we're having, just to give you some more information, you know, we've talked about the Verde Valley Circle Trail and it being a part of this, this trail opportunity to connect Clarkdale, to bring people into Clarkdale through that trail system. Well, there's also a trail system, another one being proposed. Oh my gosh, I just forgot the name of it. It starts with an S. That is a gravel trail that goes from, I'm gonna get there. Give me 2 seconds. Goes from. I'll send you information on it. Yep. It's called the Sunrise Trail. Former County Supervisor Thurman has been very instrumental in working on that trail, and it is huge. It's like 150 miles worth of trail. Might be making that up, but it's big, and they're very interested in the Clarkdale aspect of Clarkdale to Jerome, and then out to Perkinsville and up to the where the trail, where the Verde River area starts.
Awesome.
So yeah. So that being said, that trail to the Rome is, it'd be really cool, but if we don't have already exploration on board with that, it's gonna be a really difficult one to pull. I felt really good about having the conversation with, Selna Mangini about the Old Jerome Highway. On the, what side is that? The north side of Old Jerome Highway, North Old Jerome Highway. Mr. Selma lives off that road as well and sees the number of people that are walking and biking on that road. And it's a very narrow road. It's very curvy. It's dangerous. So he was like really excited about that. So we made some headway. Oh, there was another, the former VT, oh, that is the railroad. It is on here, Terry. The former VT and the S Railroad, that is Verde Exploration. So that is the Jerome,
Oh, okay.
that is the Jerome Trail. Where Jerome Verde Development Company, let's see. Who we'd have to talk to is the Net Plant, Yavapai Apache Nation, and a few other individual property owners. I was bummed that that wasn't on there because I'm like sure we had talked about it. Anyway, that's kind of the total update on where we're at. On the trails. And we just continuing work. We have now those visuals for the master plan. Taylor will begin working on that. She's going to be out for about 3 weeks or 2 weeks. She's doing a biking trip through Europe. Any questions on the trails, master plan?
I know last night the town council was talking about extending Centerville Road from Calle Medina. We just drove in there today to see where that was. Is that affecting any of our trails?
No.
Okay.
That's the extension that goes from Centerville Road up to the roundabout at Centerville. I'm sorry. What's the road? Is that Centerville Road that goes the backside of Mountain Gate? It is
I think
Centerville
so.
Road. Yeah. So it basically would connect with the roundabout up front. Where you come into Centerville.
Okay.
But that's a long way off. Yeah, But they were talking about also last night council meeting about the grant for Clarkdale Parkway project. And we've moved into the second phase on that. We do need letters of support to put in with that. So if you are so inclined to write a letter of support to that project, would be really great. We're asking for as many community members to participate as possible.
Any other discussion, questions? Okay, we'll move on to 7B, discussion only regarding Verde River user safety while kayaking.
All right, so this is the agenda item that Commissioner Muccio requested that we have to talk about. We did provide some updated numbers as to the use of commercial activity and those who fill out envelopes at the Lower Tapco site and they visit. And so we provided that info, and this was, this is an addition today. It was in your packet on your agenda. The staff report got dropped off. So you can see that our numbers are doing well for commercial customers. We have through July, we did get our August numbers like today, so we weren't able to include them. But for particularly one of the outfitters, it's most likely a record for them. They've done really well this year. And then we have the daily visitors. This is the count, so the envelopes that we collect. Some people fill them out and don't put anything in the envelopes, but some of them do. So we average typically about a little over $4 per customer that's coming in, that's filling out the envelope. So we do pretty well. We have a $5 suggested donation. So it's typically a little over that. And our total visitors are actually, for the month of July are above all of our other years.
Well, and you're using numbers off those envelopes. Each car has multiple people in it.
Right.
So we should exponentially consider the fact that that's at least double for the private.
And I
users.
think we actually account for that when
Do you?
they do the
Form,
the count, they attribute to how many actual people are visiting. Yes, so they do
Okay.
ask that.
Does the envelope ask that in?
I didn't think it did, because I
Actually,
just put the money in it.
that they collect it somehow.
But early on, there was a study started at the average how many people per envelope.
Copy.
I believe it's like
Okay.
24, so there is already it's built into the spreadsheet and then PD can put those numbers. So
Thank
it's
you.
an estimation, but it is slightly more than double for each
Okay.
one.
So, Jerry, would you like to share with us your?
I don't know. That's a lot of people and I would anticipate it's more just from what I see on a daily basis in front of my house. And it's. I haven't been here long enough to really have input. I think the other commissioners might have better suggestions, but I just know that people are ill prepared going down there. I don't know if having a sign's gonna change that. But at a minimum, I think time. Like anticipate a slow float is 2 hours, a paddle's an hour, just anticipate. I don't know how you put that in a sign or let them know river's low. And if you just have a tube, there's a very good likelihood that that tube's not gonna make it all the way down.
So is that, what I hear you saying is that the concern is that people are not realizing how long it's gonna be, and if there's weather-related situations, that's a problem. And then the fact that the equipment that they're using may not get them all the way down.
Those are the issues we have encountered. I mean, I think this summer so far, we've probably helped 6 groups of people with just, it's now pitch dark because they didn't realize, or their tubes didn't make it, or they have kids and it starts massively pouring and they're freaking out because it's thunder and lightning, and there's no other alcove except for ours. Like, we're the only house you see between those 2 places. So they're just trying, and then once they see someone, they're like. So, yeah, and those are just the things I hear from people. Like, I didn't realize it was going to take this long, or I didn't realize. So but I don't know if it's gonna change people's mind when they drive all the way there. They're probably still gonna go, let's do it. So I don't know if it's something before they even turn in, or I don't know. I just think it needs probably a little discussion because, we've been thankful that no one in a kayak has had a situation this year, but it can happen.
Yeah, and it's a great concern for us, and as well as, extraction points, emergency extraction points, and that's been a part of a conversation with Birdie Front for river safety, and where the police department, the search and rescue, fire
That brings up a
departments are all
great-
working together.
It brings up a great point. You're right. There's absolutely, especially if you're not from here, there is absolutely no way for you to call and tell them where you are because everything looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
So what
Like
you,
mile markers on the freeway.
Yes.
Something like that. if people could say, oh, we're 25% of the way, it's been 2.5 hours,
Mhm,
we're probably not gonna get there.
mhm.
But then you
before the sun
take the
goes
flood into account, it would
down.
have
Oh,
to
it's
be
50%.
something.
But if they knew how much progress they've made, they may understand. Because even the wind will affect it quite a bit. you
Oh,
know?
yeah.
If the wind's blowing, it can double the length of your trip, especially on tubes. you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just as naive. The first time I did, I took my dog with me. And I was surprised how long it took, and my dog was unable to swim the whole way, so I see people with dogs all the time. So I had to try to get my lab in my kayak, which was a disaster. But that was because I wasn't aware of how long it really
Mhm.
took.
Yeah.
So.
So we had a proposal from Birdie River Institute, Doug Bongazik, a few years ago for river signage. And we had some pushback. There's challenges with it because as valuable as we think it is, first of all, a lot of people don't want there to be a lot of signage. You're out in nature, the view, you know, having signs are not the most ideal situation. The ones he initially presented to us were really complicated. They had too much information. So we asked for a change in that, and he did that. Placement of the signs and how to get them where they need to be, where they aren't going to wash away every time that we have a flood. So, you know, the proposal was like up in some trees or whatever. And then it's like, okay, who's going to do that? Is our public works staff going to get out there and do it? I mean, we understand that it's a need, the challenge to, you know, to get there. Another really great thing that came up in the river safety meeting was putting colored, ribbons or colored something along the way that, you know, people could, if we had maps available at the beginning, or if they have an emergency situation, the emergency responders would understand if they say, well, the last thing I saw was a blue ribbon, then they could figure out kind of the general proximity of where they were. So that was one of the suggestions.
Even maybe a simple start would be when you come up where you're paying already, put something in that, you know, and the majority of people do have their phones on them. They're putting them in the little, because I have people all the time asking if they found their phone because they flipped. So they could take a picture at least of a good map or instructions or something. I don't know. Maybe
Or
that's where
even-
we
Or
start.
even first time visitor, you know, and then somebody could go up and go, well, we haven't been here before. Oh, it says here, it'll take us probably 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah.
On a
Know
kayak.
before you go.
Yeah,
just
like,
Before you go.
like length of time, because that kind of stuff, people that go all the time they will understand, but people who haven't been or from out of town, they have no idea. And they just stopped at Walmart and bought pool floats, you know?
And if, for simplicity's sake, maybe too, to make a simple sign that has like a, you know, check current conditions and have a QR code that they take and
Oh, yeah,
sends them
that's a
to
great website that shows you
a
the.
page that, yeah, and then like having additional
Great idea.
information, like if the flow is this,
Stay out
like
of the
you're
river.
saying,
Yeah,
yeah.
stay out.
So either like a link or QR code. Sure.
That's a good idea.
That's
Yeah,
a
because you could say it flows over 5,000, expect these times,
Yeah.
under, 2 to 5, expect this.
Well, isn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's over, is it 400 CFS, they're not allowed to be on the river anyway?
500.
Is it 500?
Yes.
Yeah,
Commercial outfitters cannot run after 300.
yeah.
They actually requested for us to change that and we said no. They wanted to run higher, one event did, wanted to run at higher flows. And because all of their staff is emergency swiftwater rescue trained. And our philosophy on that was, it doesn't matter how trained you are, if somebody, especially in our stretch, if it's flooding, there's trees, there's debris, anything can happen. And we don't want to be the ones to say, yeah, that's okay.
On our website, maybe that is like it's a basic place to start, because I would assume if you don't know where you're going, you're gonna map it, maybe people would navigate to the website, and if we had information.
It could definitely be upgraded. We do have information about the Verde River. We have a place to check current conditions, or water flows. And a lot of good information there, but it's definitely something that we can take a look at and potentially improve on.
Yeah, I would think just to keep, I mean, for a simple sign, just to direct people to like, wait, like before you get in, go to this website.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. It's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Is there service out there? I actually don't know.
Not always.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
not always, and depending on where you are. So
Yeah.
that's a concern also. So our ambassadors all have radios.
yeah.
I mean, they have a town cell phone as well, but they use the radios. So that's the one reason why we've talked about for a long time, like, you know, the ambassadors really are managing river recreation, managing our parks, but PD supervises them. And that's specifically for that safety reason. So they've got radios, they've got a truck, they've got, you know, direct connect to the police department if there are any issues, so.
Yeah, this is great. Like, I just typed in Verde River, Clarkdale, it comes right to the website, goes right to the page, so it goes right there, but there definitely should be. There's not really true safety and things you need to, like, it talks about the river, but it would be cool to have a section if you're planning on kayaking, things you should know. Like, yeah, because right now it's like, talks about runoff and it talks about the levels and but that doesn't mean anything to. You've never been. Yeah,
Recreate.
yeah.
And a couple of things are, our outfitters that are out there on the river all the time, they are helping people continually. And that's one of the reasons why we want them to continue operations. Not only do they groom the river when needed after a flood and, you know, there's trees down and debris and rocks and paths that need to be moved. But they also are helping the general public all the time. It is a full-time job for them. They're not.
Maybe bring them in, can we bring them in on the conversation and see what their suggestion, I mean, because I'm only one person that's seeing a small problem, they'll probably be a world of knowledge to. see what
Yeah,
they
and it
think.
did come up at a recent meeting that we had with them about just the sheer number of use, because that was another thing that came up. A particular outfitter was asking to have higher numbers in their launch. You know, to go up to that right now they can take 16 people with 2 guides. And they were wanting to be able to take more people because they had a lot of groups. They do a lot of like youth group and
Schools or churches or whatever.
like team building trainings that people reach out to them to take their group on team building opportunity. And so they wanted to have additional people on a trip, and we did not approve that as well. We stuck with the reason that the numbers are set the way they are is for public safety, for public enjoyment, for the people who live along the river to not you know, have overuse, even though I know you're experiencing that.
Oh, I don't mind, I think it's cool, so.
And so we did not approve that request. as
And
well.
everyone's, I mean, there's not much, it's really nice though, there's not much trash, everybody's. I mean, it's pretty, people are pretty respectful, there's always 1%, but
Yeah.
99% of people are super cool.
And then the other thing is that Verde River Institute had launched a program called the Verde River Rangers. So Doug was going out every weekend and running, you know, he was down there running the river, having those conversations with people. And I don't believe that he's been doing that much anymore, but he felt like he was making a really good impact. And they were also removing any trash. And, you know, letting people know about the loaner PFDs, letting them know about the laws of children need to have a PFD when they're, you know, in the water on a boat. So, you know, that could have some impact. I mean, I think a program like that, if we had, you know, people that could be out there, but you can't be out there all the time. It's too costly. It's, you know, but
I think a good place to start is update the sign with a QRS code and some basic need to know first timers and update the website a little more. And I think that would be a fabulous, great start, very low cost. I mean, and I think it would be helpful.
okay, we'll definitely consider that staff direction and we'll kind of move to improve that. Any other comments on that from anyone?
Okay, any future agenda items? Crickets.
After the concert series is done, maybe we can, I'm sure it's already planned to just have a wrap up for all the volunteers on what went well and what could be improved on. I know now that we're working at the table more, we're seeing a lot more of the things, and I know that I have some ideas about how to streamline that a little bit, make it a little bit easier, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely, we'll
that
do
would
that.
be perfect at the next meeting because the last concert will be.
Sure.
And why don't we add on there a Verde River follow-up that we can let you know that we've, you know, taken some steps to for safety improvements.
Sure.
Anybody else?
Do you anticipate that we will meet in October, or do we usually push that one because it's so busy with the events? I mean,
Yeah,
so maybe November, I mean, I don't know.
well, if we don't have any action items, then we just won't have a meeting.
That makes
Just
a lot
do
of sense.
updates.
Yeah.
And a lot just depends on where we're at with some of these other things, the parks, the trails, if we need any direction from you on that. But, you know, I'd be fine with not having a meeting. It's a busy month, kind of like June and July. So, yeah.
Anybody else? Is there any objection to adjournment?
None.
Right, we will adjourn this meeting at 6:18.
Thank you. Hey, did we get, Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus? Who got vandalized last year? Was it both of them?
I mean, we all did in here.
In our heart.
Our hearts.
I was just wondering if it got replaced.